Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
It's the morning drive. It's time to talk finance, but finance for you and for your future and for your retirement and for your well-being and all of that stuff. But today, with a little bit of difference, financial planning for companies this morning. But by this, I don't mean, financial planning that serves as a roadmap for a business. I mean helping you to allocate resources efficiently, make informed decisions, monitor financial health, look after employees, all of the good stuff. So, medical insurance, life cover, retirement plans, liability insurance, all this and more. James Thomas is with me. He is an independent financial advisor. I use that as a compliment.
And I take it as one.
It's nice to see you.
And you.
So, James, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, actually. It's nice to have you here. Medical insurance, is that where we should start of all those things? Where do we start? If my company is, I've got 10 employees, I need to be doing more, what should I be doing first?
Good question. Yeah, typically
Really?
Medical is, because it's a compulsory requirement here in Dubai and the UAE, that's often the place that we come in.
All right then, so that's a decent place to start. We'll do that, but then we want to be looking at other things. I don't know, life cover, maybe for key people, maybe if you can afford it for everybody, of course, shareholders, partnerships, group life, group savings, retirement plans, liability insurance, all that sort of stuff. We'll try and take those in some sort of order. First question though, what advantages are there if you or somebody like you, independent advisor, comes in, take care of company requirements for medical, for life, for liability, for retirement plans? Why would I call you in, first of all?
I think for the same reason as you would as an individual, because we can go to the whole marketplace and make sure, actually take a step back from the market, actually review your situation and carry out, rather than a personal fact find, a corporate fact find. So to analyse your business, where you're at, run through with you where you want to go, how working with your HR department as well. So it crosses numerous parts. It's not just the pure financial, but also a lot of these benefits will help you attract key staff, better staff, because people are looking for these types of things when they're looking for jobs. So it works for a multitude of parts of the business.
Okay.
So to finish, then to actually go to market and make sure we can find the right product and save you having to trawl around, finding, looking, researching. We take that responsibility and come to you with the best options for your company.
I mean, that's kind of almost answering a follow-up question, I suppose, really. I mean, it starts with that blank sheet of paper, doesn't it? I guess
I mean, again,
without more sheets of paper.
More sheets of paper, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's where it starts. And I suppose if I'm doing it, if I'm the boss of a company and this is what I want to do, it's going to take me time. That is, there's a cost in that, of course. I'm guessing as well you might be able to get a slightly better deal.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So it's one, you can then focus on doing your job, running the business, while we can then take that responsibility, that time, that effort to go and source the best solutions for the issues that we've identified.
Okay, and very often, I suppose, the case is the more employees you have, the better deal you get, better rates potentially you can get as well.
I mean, a lot of these, there are factors, age, nationality, not so much nationality, used to be, but not so much now, but the mix of your census, the employees that you have will make an impact. But absolutely, typically, the more people you have, the better the price that we can negotiate.
Okay, so let's start with medical insurance then, because as you point out, mandatory for all employees here in the UAE. That's the big one, really, I suppose.
It's certainly, whether it's the big one, it's certainly the biggest area. Why I'm questioning it, I would still suggest, much like for personal, probably the life insurance, because that will potentially have the biggest impact on both the business and your employees. But yes, because it's a mandatory compulsory requirement to provide what I would suggest is a very relatively basic level of care to your staff, but nonetheless it's something you have to do. So then the next question that follows up is, okay, here are the requirements that are laid out by the DHA and the DOH in Abu Dhabi, but actually you can offer an awful lot more from the locations that you can attend, from the amount of benefits that are provided, whether you cover your family, how, etc. So there's many other questions that then follow on from just providing that mandatory cover.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's the big one in terms of the fact that it is mandatory, because life insurance obviously not mandatory in a corporate setting. Like my wife has now been told that she gets there's some kind of life insurance cover. She's a teacher, and that's something that's being offered. And she sent it to me the other day, and I said, "Well, why did you send it to me?" She said, "Well, it's not. I'm not being offered it." And she said, "No, but it's something." So I offered to bump her off and take the money, but she didn't go for that.
No.
But there's the thing. But we're starting to see that a little bit more. So these things, much as I make light of things, these things are starting to creep in, I think, more and more regularly. Are you seeing that?
We are,
Right.
because I think it's from other parts of the world. There's companies offer these things, and therefore, if they're bringing staff from those parts of the world to the Middle East, then
There are expectations.
there's an expectation.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, you arrived, you were just given your salary, and that was that. Whereas now, people have some form of expectation that there is a benefits package as opposed to purely just a salary.
Yeah.
And included within that would be that medical insurance, and again, looking for a level of cover that they would be used to, but also following on from that, is there life insurance? Is there some form of savings plan? Of course, there's gratuity, but above and beyond that, how does that look? And therefore, to attract that top talent, following on from probably David's conversations that you've been having, to secure those people, these are sort of questions that I think are now being asked.
Well, that's right, actually, and it's what he would call, as a recruitment professional, he'd talk about comps and bends.
Comps and bends, absolutely.
Yes. Thing, yeah. Okay. So, essential questions to be answered by your medical insurer. I'm not sure if we're going to get to everything today, by the way, but I think it's important to start with medical insurance. It is mandatory. What kinds of questions should a medical insurer be answering for you if you're looking at a corporate package? What can you expect?
Good question. I mean, it really depends upon, as often with these things, your budget. So we can go to market and secure the basic package, and that is very much dictated by the authorities here, and therefore, and the prices, the premiums are largely set. There is some small movement.
It's a little bit of variation.
But it's very small.
Right.
When you then get more bespoke packages, it's then what are you looking to offer to your staff?
Right. Okay.
So is it that you want to have the best hospitals and clinics within it? Do you want to have an excess? That is to say that the first 50 or 100 dirhams the member pays, or do you not want to have that? Would you want to put a cap on the amount of pharmaceutical benefits that members are able to claim? It's that balance between the cost versus the benefits package.
Yeah.
And it's just finding that sweet spot for your company that offers the level of cover that you wish to provide versus the premium that you wish to pay.
Do you find that people, I mean, I don't know who you deal with, but I know you deal with a number of companies that do this. Do people look at, is it plan first, coverage first, or is it budget first?
Depends on which, again.
Depends on the company. Okay.
No, not so much the company even, but within the company. HR, you mentioned the comp and bends, they want to provide, again, being very broad brush, they want to provide the best possible benefits that they can.
Sure.
Then you provide that quote, and finance see that and say, that's rather expensive. Anyway, that can be trimmed. And that's where then the compromise comes in.
Okay.
You maybe say add that copay on particular benefits, maybe outpatient, because that's the most used.
Yes.
You perhaps limit the hospitals and clinics, or certainly restrict certain facilities because they're simply so expensive, or you add a larger copay if you wish to attend those facilities. It's, again, this is where you can see the conversation very quickly becomes quite in depth and not so much complicated, but there's numerous factors that can be applied and levers that can be adjusted to bring the premium to an acceptable amount while keeping the benefits at the levels that they want to provide.
And I guess in your role, you're talking to insurance companies pretty regularly.
Yes.
You have a relationship that's been built up, and you can talk to them and say, look, well, this company's at this point. In a year or two's time, they may be at this point. Most companies look to grow, add more people.
Absolutely.
That means a higher premium. That may be an incentive to offer, I don't know, additional coverage, more hospitals in the network, or whatever it would be. I mean, you can tailor-make these packages
Very
to an
much
extent,
so.
can't you?
Yes, and again, the larger the scheme, the more tailored it can become. Because you've got that economies of scale, you've got the volume of people and of premium, frankly, that then allows the insurance companies to be more bespoke with the product that they then provide to that company.
Okay, so it's sit down, look at the package, then it's pay for the package. It's really as simple as that, isn't it?
It is, but that's the key, is that, as always, it's that conversation as you're going through the process is the key, and working with a provider that you're comfortable with to build that package for your company. Now, the smaller you are, it is largely off the shelf, but even then, as few as 3 to 5 members of staff, you can already start to tailor that policy.
As low as that?
As low as that.
That's a real surprise.
Yes. Now, the premium might not be because you're so small, but the benefits can be adjusted, even at that level.
Okay. So, I mean, and that is properly tailor-making something.
Yeah.
Very specific.
But that's why I would always say, sit down with someone like myself, because we know which some insurance companies will not entertain that. Others are very keen to, because of what you said, because Dubai have been very entrepreneurial, lots of startup businesses that then grow into much bigger companies.
Oh, yeah.
If they get that company on board at that early seed stage and grow with it, and they provide a good benefits package, then at every renewal they keep that, and it's then gone from 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 and to wherever.
Time in, relationship built, and all of that kind of thing. There are the other factors as well, I suppose, when you sit down to think about this, are the things like the demographic of your company, age demographic, demographic by sex as well, because female maternity requirements potentially, older people who may have pre-existing conditions. Those are things that you need to kind of take into account.
They are, and pre-existing is a very important part, because different insurance companies have a different thresholds of where they offer that. Below that threshold, you have to complete an underwriting questionnaire, much like you would for life insurance.
Right, okay.
And of course, if you must declare any conditions, because if you don't, the policy could be voided. And that can then have a huge impact on the premium, because of course they are allowed to rate that person based on the conditions that are disclosed, because of course it's something that they're likely to claim for during the course of the policy year.
Yeah, which seems reasonable, I guess. What is there anything I haven't asked you, I should have asked you when it comes to medical insurance?
No, I think, again, it's something it needs to be discussed. There are a lot of options, a lot of areas to look at. Our job is then to go to the market. There are, I'm going to say 20 insurance companies. There's probably more, but they're the ones that we would deal with, which I suggest is a big enough pool to be able to get a fair market understanding of what the market is and where the rates are. The underwriters between those, you're not going to see enormous differences, but you will see significant differences, and then you can tailor that policy accordingly.
Okay. And it takes a professional to sit and be able to sift through and ask
I
the
think
right
so.
and answer the right questions
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I'm trying to cover everything here
Yeah, of
because
course.
I think it's so important, and I always kind of think, am I asking a stupid question
Never
here?
answers. Again, as I always say, there's no such thing.
There are no stupid. Thank you. I feel better now. So that's medical insurance, which is kind of the first thing, and I suppose that naturally kind of leads us to life insurance now. So, essential questions that you need to ask when it comes to life cover for employees. Is it good to start with purpose? I mean, I guess it is. What I mean by that is understanding the need for life insurance coverage and understanding the benefits of it. Because I think there's a natural kind of, okay, medical insurance I've done. Like, do I really need to go here? Does that make any sense?
It does, and it's a very common response that I get. One, because it's
Right.
not compulsory. Okay, there's the 200,000 dirhams that's provided. Again, a mandatory requirement, but it's above and beyond that.
Yes.
Do I need to provide this? No. But should I provide it? The answer to that, in my opinion, is yes.
Yeah.
Because, again, look at it. Again, I have to be perhaps careful how I phrase this, but just from a company point of view, if one of your members of staff dies, do you want to have to be responsible for looking after their family, their repatriation of their body? Again, it all sounds incredibly harsh to say.
It's difficult to talk about.
And it is a difficult discussion. But if you've put that policy in place, suddenly all that goes away.
Yeah. Okay.
Because again, why do you take out life insurance? It's to put money in the right place at the right time. And therefore, as a company, you've then been able to give that person's family a significant amount of money. Typically, it's a multiple of salary, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, or it can be a fixed number. Again, it's very flexible. But it just means that it takes a huge responsibility off the company's shoulders, because suddenly there's a nice chunk of cash. Again, it's never going to replace that person, but how does the person who's received that money is going to be forever grateful? And again, grateful perhaps is not the right word, but they're going to be so thankful to you because the company has taken that decision and allowed that person to be receiving of a lump of money at a very difficult time.
Yeah, which takes the pressure off. But it's a whole lot more than that. And I know, I get why it's difficult to phrase it, because it's the point of all this is...
It's not even unsympathetic, but it's a company protecting itself, but also able to then do the right thing for its members of staff.
That was the phrase I wanted to use. Because it's the right thing.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. Okay, so no, I'm with you there. All right, so that's kind of the reasoning, the purpose behind it, really. So that's, again, where you start. Before you sit down with a professional, with that blank piece of paper and that expensive Swiss pen, or whatever it is, and then you jot down, the details of what you want to do, where you want to go, how much coverage you need, and I guess it's a very similar question to the medical insurance question. The amount of coverage, what do you need? It's really based on the obligation, the dependence.
Yeah, and again, this way it can become very difficult. Say, as a single person versus someone who's married with 2, 3, 4 children, but should you as a company give the person with the family more coverage than the single person? Often it's a blanket coverage, it just says it's a multiple of salary.
Yes. Okay.
So that's when I would often then say, well, that's great because the company is at least making that provision. Let me then sit down with the individuals and say, right, your company is offering X. If you're single, do you need any more? Maybe not. I would always argue yes, but if you have a family, then almost definitely there should be additional cover. And the other, looking at it from the individual, will you be working for this company when you die? And again, that's a really harsh question perhaps, but while I always say the company benefit is again, it sounds wrong to call it a bonus, but it's an additional benefit above and beyond what you have done on your own for your own financial planning.
What I like about these conversations with you is you don't bother with the euphemisms, and I like that you're apologetic. But the point of all of this is these are questions that you have to ask.
They have to be asked, and they can be tough questions. They are tough questions, and that's why I'm trying to find the right way to phrase it. I don't want to sound like I don't care, because that's not the case at all. The reason we're having these conversations is because we care very much. We don't want people to die. Of course we don't. But the sad reality is people do die. These things happen all the time. There's however many billion people on this planet. I think the average is 150,000 people die every single day across the planet.
Yeah.
So, you fill up Wembley Stadium in the morning, you fill it up again in the evening. Those people, and again, it's just to put some statistics around it. It is still unlikely to happen, but it can happen and does happen.
It's such a cheery conversation.
It is, and that's why. But it's
so pleased you're here. We've got through medical insurance. I mean, I say got through. That sounds like it's done, dusted, it's finished. There's a lot more to it.
Of
but
course.
The bones of it.
Yeah, the bones of it.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Life insurance, starting with purpose. How much life insurance coverage do I need? Not mandatory for companies to provide for employees here in the UAE, James, as we said, but something that we're kind of seeing more and more of. Let's move on to what types of life insurance policies are available. Term life, permanent life insurance. I don't really know the terminology. Over to the expert.
Well, typically for group policies, it's term assurance.
Right.
And typically it becomes a lot more cost effective for companies because, again, you've got the pool of people. You're not just insuring one person, you're insuring all the members of staff. And it's annually renewable.
Okay.
So, because obviously the population of the company will change over that year, so every year it's adjusted. And again, much like medical insurance, the bigger the pool of people, generally the more cost effective it becomes.
Well, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Something that you have to take into account, I suppose. If, I don't know, you have an incredibly successful year, you could start the year, whenever your annual year begins, whether that's January or later in March, whatever month you've chosen, whatever tax year you've chosen in some cases, I guess.
Yep.
You could start with, I don't know, you've got 10 employees in January 2026. By July, there could be a situation when you've grown to 30, 50, I mean, who knows?
Easily,
so all of these things have to be taken into account. So you can understand why renegotiations are necessary, annual payments are adjusted, etc. Yeah, okay. So term assurance, what do you mean by that term? What do you mean by the term assurance?
So you're covered for that year. In this case, when we were talking about individual policies, we would look at the term to fit the need of the individual. Was it for a mortgage cover, so maybe 20, 25 years? Was it for while a child was still a dependent of yours, so maybe 18, 21 years? Whatever that reasoning behind taking that cover was. With group life, as I say, it's annually renewable. So every year there's a reassessment of the census of the members, and the premium is then driven by that information.
Is it generally the case that if you have a term assurance, a group life policy, which lasts, the standard would be 12 months, I guess.
Yes.
What happens take my example there, if you start the year with 10 employees, so you've got 10 premiums to pay, you have a rate based on those 10.
Yep.
If by July you've had a great year, things are going great guns, you've got 30 employees, that the premium is just applied to each employee as they're taking on at the rate that you agreed in January. That's generally
how it works. And then when it comes to the annual renewal, if the makeup of the census of the group has changed, then that premium or the cost per member, as it were, will be adjusted. Now, if you've taken on older members of staff, it could creep up. If you've taken on younger, then the overall effect would be to reduce the cost per person.
Right. Okay.
But
And
yes, it's calculated every year.
these are calculated. These are actuary tables.
Precisely, yes.
Right. Okay. That you can refer to get an idea
Yes,
if you want to.
absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
So that's important. For people with dependents, it's a good idea, I guess, to be able to understand how life insurance benefits, if it does apply to dependents, how life insurance benefits are distributed to beneficiaries. That's an understanding that I think people would need to
Yes.
learn.
Again, most companies insure the employee only.
Most.
Most do. Very few actually extend that to beneficiaries. To dependents. As to beneficiaries, yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, that's a crucial part of taking the policy out, because it's great that you've taken the insurance, if we're talking on an individual basis, but to finish the process properly is to make sure that it's written correctly, to make sure the proceeds go exactly where you want them to in a timely fashion. And it's no different with a corporate policy. Often they're written in trust so that the money is protected, and then it can be distributed either with a letter of wishes, or the money is paid to the company, and the company then distributes it to the employees' next of kin.
Okay, so to do this, creating a trust is an important step.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, that's usually part of the setup process.
Right.
I didn't mention it. It's not a complicated process, but it's just another layer of protection to make sure the money goes to the right place at the right time.
Okay. So what's the benefit of having the trust specifically? What could you outline?
It's because it's a
It's
legal entity.
methodology,
It's
really.
methodology, yes.
Right,
So
okay.
it doesn't have to be paid. It reduces the amount of places that money has to go to, and discussions about where it should be paid to, because it's very clear with that document who would receive the proceeds in the
Right.
event of someone's death.
Okay, I understand. What about the application process for life insurance? The steps involved in applying.
For a company, it's much more straightforward than an individual, because you simply complete a census, one application form that the company completes, detailing who's to be covered at what amounts. So you can tailor it that the more senior members of staff have higher amounts of cover should you wish. That, again, it's very flexible. And there's no underwriting let me rephrase that. Typically, there's no underwriting unless you're asking for large amounts. And again, different insurance companies have different thresholds of where that amount is, and based upon the ages of the people being insured. But you can get quite a significant amount of cover before any underwriting is required. So again, it makes the application process much more straightforward.
Let's talk a little bit about the cover and the kinds of things that are included, the kinds of things that are excluded. Is there a general kind of rule that you should expect particular provisions in life insurance?
Again, the companies we work with is the same as individual, deliberately, because we don't want
to muddy the waters.
Or any surprises that someone has died and it's excluded for whatever reason.
Okay.
Typically, if there's a death certificate, the money will be paid.
All right. Pretty simple. Have I missed anything there? I'm trying to go through.
No, again, I've kept it quite straightforward. There are other benefits that can be added, but let's stick to, I would suggest, just to the life insurance at this stage, because I think that's the most important benefit that can be offered.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about, a couple of things. We may not have time to get through everything here today, but a couple of other things I wanted to bring up to you. Retirement plans and liability insurance. And I'm wondering, which one would you like to do first?
Well, I was actually going to come back, if I may, to the life insurance, because we've talked about the group and the census, the members of staff, but the other related part is the shareholder or partnership protection, as we call it. So let me use an example. You and I go into business together. We're 50-50 partners.
What would the business be?
Oh, there's coffee important.
Coffee and roasting and
roasting.
stuff.
I think
It's
we
definitely
both.
a theme emerging this morning, but I like that. Okay, so we're in the coffee business.
We're in the coffee business.
Right.
I like that. I'm just imagining where we're going to get our coffee from, where we're roasting. We'll bring in Mr. Elliott Senior, who can show us how it's done.
It's just that phrase of we're in the coffee business. So apparently now we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the agreement does need to be kind of rubber stamped, doesn't it? Insurance-wise, I mean.
It does, but that's why I mention it, because very often we set up the business, so we have to go to the various departments and get our trade license. We do all of the legal establishment of the entity and do all that perfectly.
Yeah.
We then start trading. We become very successful. We haven't actually talked about the shareholding or the value of the business that we're creating. Because, again, I die. Then what happens to my share of the business?
I'm pointing at myself. I just realised I didn't say it. Me.
Well,
But,
and
there you are. Yeah.
But my will says it goes to my wife,
Sure.
as an example,
Sure.
and I'm
Okay.
sure it would be the same for you. Would our respective partners want to? One, would they want to get involved in the business? And two, would the surviving partner want their deceased partner's wife joining the business?
It's a very good point. And these are all valid questions that in the excitement of, we've got this great idea for a business, it's going to be
we're doing
great.
well, we've got some great coffee, it's selling like hotcakes.
Exactly right.
And again, I
love the coffee selling like hotcakes, by the way.
I know, it's
That's
good.
great. I like
I
that.
think we should sell hotcakes too.
Probably.
But it is. You get carried away. It's great. We've got the enthusiasm. We're doing really well. We've got some great outlets to stock our coffee. We're bringing in more and more, and then something happens.
Yeah. Quite right.
And what then happens? Well, our business is now worth $1 million dirhams, $1 million, whatever it might be. But the business has been ploughing all that money back into the business, bringing in more product, finding more outlets, etc., etc. Oh, well, there's a knock on the door from our respective partners to well, James's share was worth $500,000.
Yeah. That caffeine poisoning wasn't so great, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, why I'm always hesitant is not to make light of the matter. It's really important, because if you then plan, you put an insurance policy in place that both partners have agreed that the business is worth that amount. So should something happen, that amount will be paid. Then what happens? That money is paid to our respective spouses to, again, it sounds horrible to say, but remunerate them for the value of the shares. In return, they give up their right to the share of the business. That then reverts to the surviving partner. So they can then carry on running the business and not have to worry about finding that money to recompense the deceased family's estate for their share in the business.
Yeah, okay.
So that's one very important part. Following on from that, how is the business going to cope with that person no longer being there? So that's when the key person kicks in. So that's not to recompense the family, it's actually to recompense the business. So they can go out and find someone who can replace them. And again, replaces the wrong, but to actually do that job. So there's then some money to hire someone to go to David to say, right, we need a sales director, or we need a managing director, we need whichever key person it is. We've now got to pay them this amount. We need them to get up and running in the business, etc. So that's where that policy becomes absolutely vital.
Well, it highlights a really important point, I think, in any form of business planning, is that it highlights business continuity planning.
Continuity planning,
which is something that is, I guess, not covered very much, because it's not a sexy topic.
It's not a sexy topic at all.
It's very, very
Well, I say
important.
it's not, but it's absolutely vital to keep that business functioning.
Okay.
And again, I'm this little example of the two of us, but we turn this into a multi-million-dollar business, and it's not just two of us, there's 5, there's 10, and there's key people maybe in different countries, in different sectors, but they're all vital to that business. You lose that person, and again, it's often with a startup that any profits are being ploughed back into the business to continue its growth. Suddenly, you've got a huge hole in your executive team. Where do we find the money, not only to, again, I keep using the word replace, but it is to fill that position, but also to fill the void in the finances of the company that we've all worked so hard for. And again, it's not to sound uncaring. Again, it comes from a place of caring because you need to protect your valuable work, because it's not just a purely pounds, dollars, dirhams. It's everyone's blood, sweat and tears that they've poured into that business to get it to where it is.
Yeah, exactly right.
And suddenly you can see businesses really struggle when they have to not only pay out to a deceased person's estate, they have to go and recruit, but also in the meanwhile, they've lost the revenue or the money that person was generating for the company.
And again, one of the things about this is it's about, I mean, there's an element of facing mortality here, which is difficult to do.
It is.
But you need to do that in order to provide the continuity. Once it's done, it's done. That's the other thing. And the pressure is off. And also, if the worst were to happen, the financial pressure is eased. And that's the point, because you faced it in the first place. It's that cycle.
It is, and it becomes a virtuous cycle then. And another part, obviously, startups are often will often borrow money to progress the business and expand. Well, you've now the bank is still going to want that money to be repaid. So therefore, again, that's the other side of the circle. The pressure then massively ramps up because you've still got that debt. You've no longer got the person who was out there selling to maybe one sector of your business. But if you've insured that liability as part of that package, you've taken the pressure off.
Well, you have. So it's the difference potentially between you're keeping the business or you are forced to sell the business.
Yes, and sell it as a fire sale.
Yeah, okay.
So so that's why I say that the group life is great to protect everyone within the business, but then following on from that is to protect the key people and also the shareholders, the partners in the business from, dare I say, each other, but to make sure that the business can continue to function for the people who are left behind. And again, we hope it never, ever gets called upon, but that's the whole point of insurance, isn't it? And again, I often say we insure our car, we insure our laptops, we insure our phones. So much gets insured, but what is often overlooked is insurance of ourselves, which is the driving force behind all of those things.
Yeah, it's a very good point to make. But it's as a wise man once said, and you know him, insurance is a total waste of money until you need it.
Exactly. And then it's the most valuable thing you could ever have.
Right, okay. So that's
what, I think that's just to finish off that point, because I think that's absolutely vital. And it's something that I think is very much overlooked, I think worldwide, but certainly in this region. As you rightly, you hit the nail on the head. We get excited. Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to start a business. We're entrepreneurial. We've got all these great ideas, and business is booming, and then these things get forgotten about. But it's only booming because the people that are running it are so focused and so enthusiastic about what they're doing.
And perhaps working a little bit too hard and burning the candle and all of that kind of stuff as well. It's actually a really important point to make, and it's just kind of dawned on me in a country like the UAE, particularly in a city like Dubai, where we're sat now, that is encouraging this kind of entrepreneurial activity. There's, actively looking to encourage people to get involved in these things.
Free zones, there's the hubs, there's, you name it. There are
making it easier
to make it easy for these businesses to come here.
It's becoming more competitively priced as well to set up businesses. But, in a very kind of broad sense, very real sense, actually, you're cutting a corner if you're not taking care of things like this.
Yes.
If you're not insuring.
If you're not insuring, again, it's that foundation of the business.
Right.
Is the business on a secure footing? Oh, yes, the financials look great. Okay, but what about these things? Because the financials will very quickly not look so attractive if one of these things were to happen.
Is it because, when it's always that thing where you think, oh, I need to go and talk insurance, and people do that kind of, oh, really?
Yeah, they do.
Is that the prevailing attitude towards insurance?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. And that's why I'm keen to spend this much time talking about it, because it's not boring at all. It's vital.
That's the point to get across, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a grown-up thing, and I wonder if I'm grown up enough to do it. But you have to face it, and I feel like we come full circle all the time, very, very often in these things. Maybe it's the crystallization of a realization. That's what this means. It's like the slap in the forehead moment, isn't it? But you have to face these things, and if you do that, I suppose the other way of looking at it, a more positive way of looking at it, is, well, I've done this. The financials are great. I'm insured here. I've got this great idea.
And again, the flip side of, yes, the wise words that it's a waste of money until it's not. Well, great. It was a waste of money. But look how much money the business has now made in the meanwhile. And that's
because the pressure is off. Okay,
That, again, it probably wasn't even a weight you realised was there. But should something happen, and sadly we've probably all got stories of, oh yeah, that happened there, and we all think it's not going to happen here until it does.
No, I know. I'm completely with you on that. I didn't expect to get ill a few years ago, as you know, and of course you do. And then you realise, the other thing that you realise when things happen is it's kind of not about you. The world continues to revolve. I thought when I got sick, oh, everybody's going to look after me and it's going to be great and it's all about me.
And we did. And we were, but...
Oh, people are concerned. Of course they are. But the world continues
And that's where I've been hopefully trying to get across with the way I've described this. That it can sound very heartless, that, oh, we don't care. It's a life or death. Yeah, it is. But these things happen. And that's why we want, if we make this provision now, do the right planning, take these steps, it just becomes so much easier.
There's another thing that's interesting about this. In these conversations with you, I know, and it generally does, and it does today, it starts with that blank piece of paper that you start with, and you start to build up a picture of what's necessary so that you plan financially the most sensibly. And that's where it always kind of starts. But there's another side to it. As well, I think, that all of the conversations that we have, there's not a spreadsheet in sight.
No.
And
I'm smiling because that's an ongoing joke. Some people love a spreadsheet, and that is what sends me to sleep, brings tears to my eyes.
I really know it's not your thing. But it's interesting because, finances at the heart are much more about the human.
Yes. They are.
Necessity, connection.
And yet people would often think it's about the numbers, the spreadsheets, the returns, but it's not. Yeah. It's the real people behind it, and the feelings and the emotions that will be triggered should something happen. And again, maybe that is where sometimes you may suggest we're too hard sell, but it's because if you don't, the consequences are so significant.
Exactly, and it's getting that across in the right way, isn't
Yes.
it? So what we've been talking about this morning, we haven't got any time really to get into any more details, so we'll conclude and kind of sum up.
Yep.
But it was financial planning for companies. We've looked at medical insurance, the kind of the essential questions that should be answered by you when you're looking to set up a company plan, but also by your medical insurer. We've looked at some of those points. That was the first one. Second, life insurance. So essential questions to be asked when it comes to, this is really about looking after employees.
Looking after employees, but yourselves as well.
And also yourself, and then obviously looking after yourself in the business. Next week, I think what we need to do is look at retirement schemes. A number of different retirement schemes.
There are. Yep.
Some aimed directly at Emiratis, covered under the federal pension scheme, for example. Retirement options for expats. We need to look at gratuity. The golden pension scheme is the other thing as well. And obviously get your thoughts on that.
Yep.
Voluntary pension schemes and all sorts of things that you can do, that you can put in place. But very often it's you putting these things in place and designing these products, I think. So we need to talk about that. The other thing is liability insurance.
Yes, and that goes hand in hand probably with the life insurance, because some of that is vital for the business functioning.
Yeah. We need to come back and talk about that as well. Is there anything else I need to add for next week? Because there's a whole list of stuff
I think
that
that's
we
probably
still need
enough
to talk
for
about.
next week's conversation.
Be ready for another insurance special next
Hopefully
week
it's of interest, because it is really vital for a company to function successfully.
I was going to ask you that. We got a minute to just sort of run through and conclude. What from the two topics today? Okay, so medical insurance, life insurance today. The two biggies, I suppose, kind of interchangeable in terms of priority. How would you sum up not just the importance, but I suppose it's a necessity, really, isn't it?
Well, I keep using the word vital. They are. They're absolutely essential to the business. Because it keeps your members of staff happy. Happy staff, we're going to work more efficiently for you. They're going to come to work healthy, ready to be there, wanting to work. But also, should the worst happen, you know as a business that you have done everything that you can to look after your staff.
That's fair. Pretty good way to end. I think James Thomas is an independent financial consultant, joins us Thursday mornings, 11 to 12 here on Mirror Business FM. Always appreciate talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
And you.
Just a reminder that we have a new show that started here on Mirror Business FM, which is called Crossroads. It's a collaboration. Dr. David Tully and Dima Magalse from Middlesex University are presenting. It's a collab with Middlesex University, and it's a show really all about media, about entertainment, the business of that, and also, I guess, the aesthetics of that as well in some ways too. So every Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And you can also get hold of it wherever you get your podcasts as well. Just look for Crossroads, and if you need to search for it, just search Mirror Business FM, and it should come up as well.